In Glanmire, there was a cost rental scheme of 32 units. 1,200 people applied, 1,200 for 32. That's the scale that we need to be delivering, but you're not delivering it. And just to let you know some of the facts, I met with a lady last week. She has a son and a daughter in England. The son is after buying an apartment. And she told me about her other son, who was in Canada for a couple of years working. And when his visa came out, he came home. And when he got the visa back, on a Wednesday, he was in Canada on the Sunday, because he doesn't see a future here. And he wants to go to Canada full time. And it's you and this government are driving there. I was talking to a couple, their 2 grown-up kids came back. One because the daughter was saving for the mortgage, and the other one is because the son couldn't afford the sky-high rents that you were overseeing happening. That family, that couple wanted to have, they were after raising their kids, they had worked hard, now it was their time. But they couldn't because of your failed housing policy, their children had to come home. And I'll leave you with this case. I know a couple who are staunch Fianna Fáil supporters, staunch. And a woman told me that she will never vote Fianna Fáil again because you drove her 4 children to the 4 corners of the world. 2 in Australia, 1 in England, 1 in America. She said to me that it was nearly the worst thing she ever done. She worked hard, herself and her husband, they educated their kids, they did everything right. And then Fianna Fáil drove them to the 4 corners of the world. And that's the reality of your housing policy. So coming in here, telling us about all the stuff you're doing, the facts are, Minister, homelessness has never been as high. Rents have never been as high. The cost of purchasing a house has never been as high. And you're the Minister for Housing. Now, Minister, to just depart the politics, do you not look at it sometimes and say, we're not getting it right? Is there a time when you're ever honest with the department and the opposition and the people? Because it's all about the people out there. You're not delivering, and the people are suffering. Because at the end of the day, if we don't get affordable, cost rental and social housing right, the future, the crisis is only going to get much worse.
It's social failure, and it's an epic social failure. And it is exactly what this government has engineered and inflicted on our society. And this government has done it without mercy and completely indifferent to the suffering and fear and humiliation of people facing eviction, indifferent to men and women whose nerves are shot because their adult children and their grandchildren are on top of them because they can't afford to rent elsewhere. These are working people, ambitious people, and Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael have engineered it that there is nowhere for them to go. Your minister was laughing earlier when my secretary was crying in her office today in North Kildare because I have 2 men in their late 60s, both working since they were teenagers, both now living in their cars, both with serious health problems, including serious vascular issues, both of them at the end of their tether. But this housing minister of this government is laughing, thinks this is a laughing matter. I'm talking about 2 separate cases now. These men don't know each other. I also have a woman with a child with a chronic illness advised by a housing body to give in her notice on her HAP rental because her home would be ready last July. She's now homeless because the apartment she was due to go into with Nace has hit a legal issue. Because the mother I'm dealing with has been nominated for accommodation, she can't avail of homeless services. This is where the red tape comes in. KCC wants to give up her nomination so she can access homeless accommodation. Cian O'Callaghan was talking earlier about the rigmarole and the outsourcing that goes on in this government. And this is, why are we even dealing with housing bodies? We should be dealing with the council. Kildare County Council has actually run out of homeless accommodation in Kildare. And in the council as well, they can't pick up the phones because the minister isn't talking to the workers and getting this industrial thing sorted out. It's just one thing after another. With ye, your housing policy is dismantling people, is dismantling families, is dismantling what it means to be a citizen in a democratic republic. It is dismantling people's lives in every generation, from baby to old age, from cradle to grave. Nobody is safe from Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael and the Greens in this housing crisis. People who depend solely on their salary month to month can't afford the high rents in North Kildare. I have women and men now in their 60s trying to rent, and the state pension is going to go nowhere near them meeting their accommodation needs. People need care, and by God, they need change.
Hardly shocking that we have a motion that relates to affordable housing and more like the lack of affordable housing. Look, we have unaffordable rents, we have unaffordable house prices. The situation is getting worse. Yeah, we can all bandy all the percentages we want, good, bad or indifferent, but the fact is we know what people are looking at when they're going on daft.ie, even the town of Dundalk. Yeah, and we all bore ourselves sometimes with this, but unfortunately the people that have to do it on a daily basis don't. It's the fact there's in Dundalk and its surrounds, I think there's 10 houses, somewhere between €1,200 for very, very standard house for a month, up to 2,750. And again, we've all seen higher than that. That just happens that all that's available. So when we talk about unaffordable, we're also talking about unavailable. We all know the issues that exist in relation to those who have been lucky enough to buy a house. We know the fact that they have unaffordable mortgages at this point in time, and we really need to see the government step up, because it's all well and good giving out about what our proposal is, which was time constrained and targeted. But the fact is, people out there require help, and we really need to see a government that's actually willing to do it. Now, we know that this particular issue as regards housing and the absolute lack of it is not going to be delivered till we see accelerated delivery. And look, we've been talking about modular, we've been talking about timber frame, we've been talking about 3D concrete printing, but the fact is that's all we've been talking about. We actually need to see scale up on a major level. Look, and we need to see targets. And again, look, we can all talk about the lack of affordable and cost rental that were supplied by each local authority. It's very straightforward for me to talk about it because it's a zero from Louth County Council. Like, this isn't going to wash. And yeah, the Minister was in and he's able to bluster and he's very good at it. You know, on some level you have to, if we weren't dealing with such serious issue, you would nearly commend him in relation to, on some level, he doesn't care and he'll say whatever is necessary, except for, as Deputy O'Brien said, where are the targets, where are the figures, and when are we going to see this delivery? And we do know that there are people working in homeless services at this stage, and I wouldn't like to be doing their job. See, as difficult as the job we have, we in some cases put the worst circumstances in front of them, and those people are in an absolutely dreadful situation. So we can't just have government being spectators in relation to that, we need it delivered. And look, we've all seen homeless figures, which we all expected, going absolutely through the roof. And the fact is, even where there are supports, we know that the supports aren't the supports that are necessary. There are regular people who never would have seen themselves in that circumstance have fallen into it, and there are others who need added resources. And the fact is, they are not being supplied in any way, shape or form. And in fairness, Thomas Gould put it exactly. The problem as well, we're nearly back in the period the same as austerity, where people are making their decision and they are leaving for Canada and Australia and everywhere. And that's people with good jobs. This is not sustainable, this is not good enough. We've had housing advocacy organisations talking about what's wrong. But at this stage, you have the IDA and you've IBAC. This is a pure disaster. We are going to bring the system absolutely down. We need to see action and we need to see it now.
Now, Minister O'Brien told us a few moments ago that he and his colleagues would move heaven and earth to tackle this crisis. Well, there are actually two things that he won't do. He won't keep the promises that he made in the general election about affordable housing, and he won't meet any of his own targets for the delivery of affordable housing. Let's cast our mind back to the general election of 2020. What was the Fianna Fáil promise on affordable housing during that campaign? It was for 10,000 genuinely affordable homes to be delivered on the O'Coulon model every year for 5 years. 50,000 homes at prices below €250,000 each. Only a matter of weeks in government, and that promise was quietly shelved and quietly forgotten about. Last year, of the 4,000 promised affordable homes, just 1,000 or more were delivered. 323 affordable purchase homes and 684 cost rental. Only a quarter of what you promised, Minister. And this year, because of course the government's housing plan is working wonderfully, apparently. They're moving heaven and earth and doing everything in their power. So how many of the 5,000 affordable homes have been delivered this year? Well, the problem is we don't know because the Minister won't tell us. He's meant to produce a quarterly report detailing social and affordable housing delivery at the end of each quarter. He's held a press conference at the end of each quarter. He's published very, very glossy documents. What's the figure that's missing from those documents? The one figure the Minister is responsible for, direct delivery of affordable homes. And the Minister knows that his department got the verified figures after Q1 for social and affordable housing, and he chose not to publish them because they were so low. The big question is, when the Minister got the verified figures for Q2, Why has he not published them? Maybe he's looking on his phone at the minute to see if he's got an email from his officials to say he can release the figures. They're in the department, they're waiting to be published, and we want to know why the delay. Now, I don't know the delay, but maybe it's the cynic in me that thinks it's because the figures are so way off target that the Minister isn't publishing it. And if I'm wrong, feel free to heckle me, give me the correct figures and put the information on the record. Now, of course, when confronted with all of this failure, and it is a catalogue of failure, the Minister responds in typical fashion. He extols the virtues of the so-called Help to Buy, a scheme that pushes up house prices, and 40% of the money went to people who didn't need it. I'm not criticising them, I'm criticising the design of the scheme. Over €200 million of public money went to assist people to buy homes when they already had a full deposit and a mortgage. That's money that could have significantly reduced the number of people in emergency accommodation. So where are we at after 3 years of Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael in government together and Darragh O'Brien as Minister? House prices have never been higher. Why? Because your failure to deliver social and affordable homes and because of your inflationary policies. And that's why it's time for change. That's why I enthusiastically support the motion in front of us today. We will outline again, in great detail, in our alternative housing budget, how you can deliver 20,000 public homes a year, including 8,000 affordable homes in the first year, but absolutely moving to 10,000 plus in years 2, 3 and 4. And until the government accepts that is the scale of ambition that is required, and until you invest the funds, cut back the red tape and empower our local authorities and approved housing bodies to deliver the homes that you promised in the general election in 2020, this crisis is going to get worse, which is why I support the motion. I support time for change. And I have to say, Minister, the sooner Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael are out of power, the better for all those in acute housing need.